everybody, and welcome back to Engage Nation. My name is Miss Princella Smith, here with the best co-host ever, which is why they are on this show. We still miss Ken, but he will be back, we promise. Right now we have Krista Anderson, and why y'all laughing? Y'all distracted me. And Luke McCoy. Okay, today we're going to talk about rudeness. And I'm warning you, before we talk about rudeness with cell phones, I permit them to use their cell phones because we have notes on our cell phones, okay? And there's other shows.
Yeah.
So we're millennials. So
I'm sorry, I have to take a call.
No. Y'all are funny. Okay, rudeness. Oh my goodness. What has happened to American culture? What has happened particularly with our generation? Before I pick particulars, I'm going to go to Luke first.
Please.
He's so ready over here.
He's ready.
Concerning our generation, our culture to 20, 30, 40 years ago, and on one of the links you shared with us before the show, one of the top rudenesses, in fact, it was the top 25, but it was number 25, being nosy. I talked to my grandmother about this, and she said typically you didn't try to knock in and enter into other people's business, especially when it came to somewhat sensitive subjects. And she's amazed at these days of how, not just our generation, but Generation X, and maybe even the baby boomers, how they just got to know about other people. They got to know all the details, and of course gossiping is popular sometimes, but my grandmother said that there was a certain etiquette of not being nosy. You were careful what you asked, and you kept things light and so forth. You didn't want to put people on the spot. I think our culture has lost that. And it is rude.
It is rude, Krista.
Yeah, I'm reading on here. One of the things that I have been guilty of in the past, and I'm really trying to be better about it, is interrupting people. You know, really wanting to say what I want to say. I have this thought, and I have to say it now. Well, no, you can wait. It can wait, yeah. But that I see that a lot, and I guess I recognize it because I used to be guilty of it, so that stands out to me.
As you talk about that, I literally had to restrain myself from not interrupting you because I do it all the time. I do it all the time. You know, I think I have a radio show. I'm always on time cues, and I got this TV show, and I'm used to. Also, my brain works really fast. So every time either one of you say something, I think of about 6 other things I want to say. So sometimes we interrupt. You know what someone told me, though? Interrupting is actually thinking that what you have to say is more important than what they have to say, and it is rude. Okay, Luke, let's talk about being in other people's business, because you're exactly right. Your grandmother was right. Back then, you just did not get involved in other people's affairs. Now, there is an up and a downside to that, because people could be going through something and not have the encouragement that they need from others. But let's talk about why it seems that our generation feels like we need to know everything about everybody. Is it tabloids? Is it social media?
I can't pinpoint that, but I'll tell you, my grandmother gave me an example. When someone lost their job, you usually didn't respond, what happened? Back then you'd respond, I'm so sorry, or some sort of sympathy instead of saying what happened. I'll never forget. The only time I have bad health is when I hurt myself. But whenever I broke my leg once 4 years ago, or broken this arm 3 times, the one question I hate, it gets on my nerves so much. What happened? I have to explain the same story over and over again. I just want to wear a T-shirt that says, this is what happened, don't ask. But as far as pinpointing our culture, I don't know. I guess it's just 24/7. We get all the details. It just comes naturally. So maybe it's a secondary problem to having the internet, and I hate to connect those two, but I do think if as individuals, as a society, if we would be more sympathetic to a person who has especially bad news to give, but being nosy, sometimes if you turn the tables, maybe you don't want to have to share or answer some of those questions, so you, instead of sharing what happened, you share sympathy instead.
Krista, it took a while, as you so eloquently gave your testimony, for you to conceive and have a child.
Yeah.
People were rude to you and James.
Yeah.
I'm just going to let you have it.
And just nosy. I think it comes back to what he was just saying, just being nosy, and just being inconsiderate and really not thinking about but I want this person asking me that or saying that to me, you know, how would that feel? How would that make me feel? You know, they're just thinking about themselves, I guess, and being nosy. So,
and you know what's crazy too about the nosy thing is that people, it's like they feel like if they don't know all the details, then they've got to fill in the blanks. Yes. And it's like, can you not just pray for them? If somebody's getting a divorce, well, why y'all getting a divorce? Well, what happened? Listen, that is like, you need to let people provide that type of information if they want to provide that type of information. And what you should do is say, hey, I am here for you. If you want to pray, if you just want somebody to talk to, I'm here. Let the door be open and then let them tell you, because sometimes people are not in the position to want to share those things. They may burst into tears. It may take them to a very dark place mentally. So we really need to kind of watch that. All right, so you guys made very good points. Let's talk about cell phone etiquette. It seems like it changes as time goes by. Our generation is the worst at, Krista's trying to talk to me and I'm like, yeah. Huh? Wait. Why do we do this? Why can this not just sit there for the duration of a 30-minute meal?
I will take the defense of using a cell phone even borderline inappropriate or going over the line. In a lot of situations, casual situations especially, I should be able to multitask. I should be able to do something. And, you know, we use text message so conveniently these days. And sometimes my wife needs to know something. She knows I can't talk, but she needs to know something pretty quickly. And I'll conveniently share with people while I'm somewhere. If they call me, I'll shoot them a text, you know, one of those automatic texts, but also say, can't talk, feel free to text. However, in a large setting, large group gathering, I'll be on my phone the whole time because typically I'm just one person. But in a smaller setting, I think it is kind of rude because if I were up there talking and whatnot, I understand people, again, like we said in the jealousy episode, I don't know what that person's going through. I don't know what emergencies they got going on, so I'll excuse it. But I do know some people, that does get on their nerves when they're, especially in a smaller setting, they're talking, they're trying to share their passion, their career, whatever they're selling, whatever they're sharing, marketing, and yet someone's on their cell phone.
Yeah.
However, I could be Facebooking about it or tweeting it.
It's true.
Promoting their own.
And that's actually my next question. You know, Krista, when my pastor at St. Mark, Philip Pointer, when he preaches, this man has so many good points in his sermons that you'll see people take their phone out and tweet it. And so what he started doing, he's 37, he's a youngish, right? So he started telling people, okay, tweet that. Like, because he figured it out, like, I think he figured it out that, no, they're not bored with my sermon. A lot of them are texting out. But is that still rude, though? Is that still rude? Like, can you not just write it down and then later?
I've been guilty of the same thing at our
do it
church.
too.
So, I mean, yeah, I guess you could. I mean, that can always wait. You know, it really can. But
Have we changed the rules?
I think it's become more acceptable, social media. You know, like at our church, we check in on Facebook like every week, and you see the list, and
the list of people checking in.
Then the urge goes, okay, so I'm using my Bible and I'm actually start taking my notes on my phone. Okay, I'm using my phone for everything, and if I click out to go from my Bible app over to my note app, I see, oh, I have 2 new Facebook notifications. Oh, I need to check that out. And I'm in church, you know? It's just so distracting.
I don't know. You know, technology, it's both good and bad. And I agree with Luke. I mean, there's times that I'm at a business dinner or whatever, business lunch, and I'll say, please excuse me, I'm keeping my phone here because I'm waiting on a call back from whatever. And it may be, you know, people know that I sell Israel trips, you know, so I may have been trying to catch this pastor. So if they text me or call me, I may need to catch it like then. I do think, though, sometimes when we're one-on-one with people, I actually do think it's rude to be just on your phone. I think if you're having a serious conversation with somebody, put it aside. And this is called active listening. I'm sitting up straight, I'm looking in the eyes, and I'm, right, Luke? Like, I mean, is there some... Does your wife get annoyed if you're looking at your phone when you talk to her?
Oh, she knows she doesn't have my attention because typically I'm texting someone about my side business or something about work, and I just need to focus on it. I got to get it right. My boss typically doesn't want, you know, he's on the go as well, and so for me to have to correct a text message or something. Something that kind of shifting to another route is we talked about too. One that I do is I'll go at the store, and there'll be 2 cashiers and no you know, it's open space in between. So I'll stick back and wait for the next one to clear out, and then I'll commit.
Yeah.
And people will come up on my left like I'm going to the right, but I'm in the middle, and I'm like all wide. And I'm standing wide on purpose, and like occasionally I'll reach over but you know the funny thing is on the interstate when you got to merge, I'm the bottlenecker. I'm the guy that wants to get all the way up and cut in.
Oh, I hate that.
And all of that is rude. All of that. You know what? Bottlenecking people, you make the traffic go slower. Luke,
easy.
you do make it go slower.
I've got logic behind this. I've got logic. I don't know if we have the time, but I got logic.
We got to go to commercial. We got to go to commercial. You know what? 30 seconds to explain your logic.
Yeah,
30
please.
seconds right now. All right. Yeah. And the local interstate here in town, if everyone got in a line, that line would be blocked up past MLK Boulevard. Then people to get on I-30 Southwest couldn't make it to Benton or Bryant. I think if people would have learned to allow people to merge and be friendly, everyone would be cut in.
Do you hear my rude side?
Yeah.
People don't know how to merge.
I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
No, it's not knowing how to merge. It's people bottlenecking. Oh, it is up, and that was rude. We will be right back after these commercial messages.
Do you have any questions or comments, or maybe you have a suggestion you'd like to see us talk about on our show? Please email us at engagethenationtv@gmail.com.
When I take road trips with Mom and Dad, we play license plate games. Our favorite game is spotting true life plates. Those are special to me because I'm adopted. Money from Arkansas True Life Plates promotes adoption, and it helps mommies in hard times make the right choices. Please buy a True Life Plate at a local revenue office. Show you care. Choose life today.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Engage the Nation, here with my co-hosts Krista Anderson and Luke McCoy. And they are looking at their phones because I sent them an article, a blog post about different ways that people are rude, all the different ways that people are rude. We're just going to jump right into this. Luke, pick one of yours out that's maybe a peeve.
Well, there were 25 of these, and so about 6 or 7 have to do within the vehicle. So from a Christian perspective, before I get on the from a Christian perspective, I think we've all heard a Bible story or a lesson about don't have the Jesus sticker on the back glass or on your back bumper, but yet cut someone off or flip them off. Yeah. But I would say the most unique on here is using the last of anything and not replacing it.
Oh, yes.
Littering is a huge no-no on my list. For our, obviously, listeners here live in Arkansas, there's that 1-800 litter number.
I do that
I've got
too,
it in my
yeah.
phone. I call people.
Do you call?
Yes, I hate
it.
I don't like smokers anyways.
I don't either.
But people who throw their cigarettes out, I want to like bump their back bumper.
You're just
take them off
littering
the road.
God's green earth. It is a sin to do that. It
There's
is a
some
sin to
others on
destroy
here,
Earth.
like not returning your shopping cart. I'm sorry, I pay people to go retrieve them.
No, I actually think that's rude. You know what that's rude?
If you
Go
park right by this space and you leave it on the other side of my car, I'm a little annoyed that you didn't just push it right around the corner and put it where it goes.
Well, Joyce Meyer, like I said, I don't agree with literally everything Joyce Meyer, the minister, says, but she preached a great sermon talking about, people not being rude. And she said, you can get up here and you can say all the Bible verses you want, and you can wear your little Christian symbol necklace and your cross and all that. But then she said, why do you drive off in the lot and not put your buggy back? Why do you get so angry if somebody takes your parking spot? Or why are you the person who takes the parking spot?
Can I touch
that's
on
more
that?
of a sign of being a Christian.
Can I touch on that?
Yes,
for
you
just a
can.
second? So my mom works at Charles Kepps Ministries, and she takes orders over the phone. Like they have internet orders, but she takes orders over the phone to people who call in and want to order books. And she got a call. She was telling me about this call that she got a couple weeks ago from this guy that said he was a pastor. And he was absolutely so rude, like degrading, like put her down.
Wow.
And she said, I said, why didn't you hang up the phone? Like, I probably would have hung up the phone on the guy, but she said, well, I really wanted to trying to help him and trying to do my job, but he was so rude. And she's like, yeah, and I'm sorry, you're a pastor? It's like, you don't expect that.
People, your life is the only Bible some people will ever read.
Yes.
And so if you proclaim all this and you're wearing all your Christian stuff, but then you're acting out or acting crazy or cussing people out the second you don't get what you want. Is that really showing the fruits of the spirit of someone who has a Christian spirit,
your
right?
Your actions always speak louder than your words.
Always.
Being a Christian is the hardest thing I think I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
I fell at it almost every day. I mean, I got a better record with my
We
marriage.
repent daily. We repent daily.
Another rudeness on this top 25 list was being late.
Yes.
And I think that is one that, I mean, I know some people that are very punctual, and I respect them for that, because I'm the opposite. Sometimes I show up 2-3 minutes late to all of it, and it's all about a matter of preparation and selfishness, I guess, and I don't know.
Yeah, somebody said when you're late, you're just sending the message that my time is more valuable than your time, and your time is not important, and so I'll get there when I get there. And you may not consciously think that,
right?
But that's kind of the message you're sending.
Yeah.
Well, and with all these rudenesses, what's kind of the Christian bottom line? To me, it's the golden rule. Treat others how you would want to be treated. And I guess just another little thing I've noticed, especially with women on the phone.
Yeah.
Sometimes reflections of voice and tones and things don't go well. And if even if the person's busy and has a crying baby and someone's on the other line and my wife talks to them and they're kind of short, my wife, that person was so rude. And I'm like, but still, I mean, it doesn't take much to set someone off and think that you're rude to them.
Once again, Luke, you have said things that makes my mind go in different directions because we could go so many different ways. Is it rude to keep a crying baby in a place and not take them out? Is it rude to turn around and stare at the parent with the crying baby? Is it rude to be nice on the phone and then point out how rude the person was on the phone instead of maybe just confronting them and saying, hey, I kind of feel like you're being rude? But instead you talk about it when they get off the phone. Go, Krista, go first. Yeah, because it's gossip.
I think with the crying baby, I think everybody who has kids has had a crying baby at some point, and so, but I don't really want to go pay for a meal out somewhere and hear a crying baby if they can take them out, or like, it's not always necessarily babies, it's like little kids acting up, take them out and tell them not to act that way and then bring them back in. Kids can act right in public.
It's true.
I've had, sometimes I've communicated to my parents like, oh, the kids are doing this, the kids are doing that. He texted back, one day you'll miss that. But as far as going to the restaurant, I'm trying. My wife and I are that parent that we're like embarrassed whenever we go out to a restaurant or somewhere where people pay to get in or they're trying to enjoy themselves, and yet our kids fussing. But I know, like at church, our preacher and the folks that kind of welcome everybody at Leaving Church of Christ, they're like, hey, we want noise, we want children. It's a good thing.
Right.
It's a good thing.
I think it really depends.
Yeah.
But on the plane, you're like, oh man. So whenever I travel with my kids in the car or if I go on a plane, the number one item I bring with me, or if I'm going to get in contact with other people, headphones.
Yeah.
Earplugs, something.
Because some screaming kid. And I think rudeness, you can really define it as whenever your behaviors or actions negatively affect someone else. Because it's one thing, look, if you're in your house and you tolerate that behavior from your kid, that's between you and that kid and the Lord and how you're raising that kid. But when that starts affecting other people, now you're being rude. Why? Because you're infringing on their space, right? I mean, that's an infringement.
It's kind of sweet sometimes. I think you'll probably understand this more as a parent. But I've got 2 kids, and especially like my grandparents' generation. When we go out, my wife and I with kids, and the kids fussing, it's a dirty diaper, whatever it may be, and we're like, rolling our eyes. Those older generation, those folks, they just smile because they like that. They're not mad most of the time. They're not mad at me. They're like, hey, they're contributing to the human race. They're procreating, however you want to put it. They're continuing society as it is. And so I think a lot of the older people, and even my parents are in their 60s, they miss that.
Well, they're more understanding of it, but it's not. Well, again, okay, let's talk about this generationally. My generation, our generation, millennials, we seem to not care as much about our appearance as the previous ones do. Now, I'm not saying we all have to walk around. There was a time when you dressed before you went to town. You looked nice. Yeah. I don't know we have to go that far, but why are people in our generation so, it's almost like we're trying not to look nice. Like, is it so bad to brush your hair? To just put on a shirt that doesn't have pizza stains all over it? I mean, I literally see people and I'm like, you look like you need a mom. Like, you just look sloppy. You don't have to dress up. I rarely now wear a t-shirt and shorts in public because I'm to the point now people recognize me. I was in the store feeling bad, buying some medicine, this woman in line said, "Are you Princella Smith?" And I thought, gosh, she just asked me, and she asked me something about an Israel trip. So I try to look somewhat presentable. But I just think even if people don't recognize you like they recognize me, why do we do this? Why do we just...
See, I'm torn.
Why are we so
issue.
slothful?
Because I am kind of old-fashioned, just the way I was raised and so forth. I appreciate people that, maybe not dressed to the T, suit and tie, or for a woman like a dress and so forth. But I think our generation's taken a little bit too much liberty. You know how Paul used to say, just because it's legal doesn't mean it's good.
Doesn't mean it's good, yeah.
So kind of going on that same wavelength, I think our generation has taken things with way too much liberty, crazy wacky hair, crazy wacky dress, just trying to make a statement. And for the most part, it makes a bad statement for the most part.
Yeah, your statement is that you're silly.
Tolerant and all that. But I will say this, when I go to church, my grandparents have kind of, and they're probably going to watch this, but we'll talk about it later, Grandma and Grandpa, but they are disappointed in our generation. Like if you're 35, 40 and younger, they're a little disappointed for the most part, because sometimes as a guy, sometimes I'll wear flip-flops. You didn't hear that, Grandma and Grandpa. I'll wear jeans. I won't tuck in my shirt. But I don't think, the problem with that, it was good 20, 30, 40 years ago, I think. But now, with the way humans are, specifically women, it's a competition, like Krista says, it's a competition. Sunday morning is the most stressful morning of all the weekdays, because the kids got to look great.
Yeah.
Cannot go to church without the bow in my daughter's hair.
Which I want to interrupt you for a second there, because a lot of churches are trying to change that, because they want people to not feel like, I don't feel like going to church today because I have to dress up again.
Or maybe I don't have nice enough clothes to wear. Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's more in the white race, because, man, going to church with black folks.
Oh, black folks, listen, you're supposed to dress up when you come to church. But I will say, well, Krista, I want you to comment first before.
Yeah, I think a lot of churches now that they're geared towards going more casual, accepting people who maybe are coming off, maybe we're dealing with homeless people, or maybe lower income families, and they don't have the money to buy really nice clothes, or maybe they prefer to wear, maybe they're just more comfortable to wear jeans, So I kind of understand both, looking nice. I can wear jeans but still look nice.
See, and I guess that's my point. I think we have almost gone overboard the other way now, especially these newer churches that are popping up. I'm glad that we want to be more accepting of other people. I'm a little between. I think that you should give God your best. Now, I do not at all believe God is sending anybody to hell because you didn't wear a three-piece suit or you didn't wear high heels and a dress. That's not it. But I think this purposeful of I'm going to come to church looking like a slob because I'm going to prove that I'm more spiritual because I don't have to dress up. That's silly too. I just think when you come into the house of God, there should be some separation. There should be some reverence. So if you're going to wear a T-shirt and jeans, fine. But you know what? Those jeans maybe need to look nice. You can be poor, but you can still have a clean pair of jeans.
Right.
They may not be the most designer pair, but it's like my dad talked about growing up poor. They didn't walk out the house looking any kind of way. Your shoes might not have been the highest end shoes, but they were buffed and shined. And that's what I mean about looking nice. I just feel like people in our generation, we look like we don't even try. Well, it's you're not even trying.
I think with if I were to take my grandparents' side, there's a sense of reverence. You're coming to church. You want to look nice, clean, crisp. It's a sense of reverence.
It is a sense of reverence. Yeah. And again, it's both. Some of us got pretentious at church, and God doesn't like that either. But I still think, at the end of the day, I'm young, but I'm old-fashioned. I think. Do your hair, okay? If you say, hey, if I'm Princella, I would say, hey, I don't feel like wearing the heels and dress pants. If I wear a T-shirt and shorts, let the T-shirt and shorts be clean. Maybe not so wrinkled, just present yourself. I want people to look at me, and if they say Princella Smith's a Christian, there's a little something different about her. There's something that separates her from the secular world. It's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean I can't go into the world and minister and get the gospel out. I don't want to be intimidating, but people who are not saved should look up to Christians. They should say, that's something I want to aspire to be. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that. Gosh, we're out of time. We'll see you guys next week. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this conversation about rudeness. I know some of you, especially people who are older than us, were probably just screaming at the TV for instances that you've seen of people being rude. But we hope that you learned something. I want to share a couple of scriptures with you. The first one is James chapter 4. You'll see it up on the screen, verse 17. It says, "So whoever knows the right thing to do and fails to do it, for him it is sin." The next scripture, 1 Corinthians 14:40 says, "But all things should be done decently and in order." And that's really all we're trying to say, people. You know when something you're doing is rude and when it's affecting someone else. You know when something you're doing can be perceived as nasty. The universal language, I lived in 3 countries, I visited several, the universal language is always niceness. It's always politeness. And so I want to encourage everyone who carries that label of Christian or believer, or however you want to say it, that we are the reflection of Christ here on earth to other people. Our lives are the only Bibles some people will ever read. So remember that. Remember, sometimes it's easier to be in our flesh and just be rude. But take a little more extra effort and let's put on the best face that we can as Christians. And let's help our fellow man. All right, that's all we got. Stay tuned for the good commercials.
Engage the Nation is a team of millennials providing insight on a range of topics, important and from a Christian perspective. Join our efforts today to support our television ministry. You can visit engagethenation.net to do so. Just $5 or $10 will go a long way towards our ministry.